The book of this is the book of what is this? This is Salaki. This is the book of Amos chapter 2, and I'm gonna start at verse 4, and it reads, "Thus saith the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, for 3 transgressions of Judah, and for 4 I will turn away the punishment thereof, because they have despised the law of the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, and have not kept his commandments, and their lies caused them to err, after the which their fathers have walked." Verse 5, "But I will send a fire upon Judah, and it shall devour the palaces of Jerusalem." I want to start off by giving all praise, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kodash. I want to say double honors to the elders and to the apostles that taught me this truth. I want to say peace and salutations to the Akim across the 4 corners of the earth, pushing this truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives and their freedom to do so, now more so than ever. Say shalom to the Akim and the Aqua out there listening and learning. Lord willingly, this is edifying. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad in the land of the nations, appearing like the other nations, but whom subscribe to this truth. To you, say shalom. It's brother Yahweh Sop, coming at you with another lesson through the Spirit, through the power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. This lesson is inspired by this article that I saw on on my Newsbreak app, and it's inspired, but pretty much it caught my attention. This scripture, I felt it, to line up with what the Lord's about to do, because he's spiritually about to send fire, because Jake about to, we in a time, leading up to Jacob's trouble. Jacob in trouble to a degree now, but no, scriptures talk about it like a time like no other, and you can see the Lord preparing the way for that by DJ Trump and this administration pretty much persecuting the northern tribes, preparing to persecute the church, and then pretty much cutting all this funding, which is not affecting everybody right now. So that's why you still got, I was listening to part of a video that a brother did. He talking about how stupid Jake stuck on stupid, because they still participating in those pagan rituals, which was really significant and spiritual when you go into the fact that the Feast of the Beast and whatnot, and that week of what's that, April 19th up to May 1st, Beltane, and then you had the situation with the that ritual sacrifice of that Pope, which is deep to me, So I mean, he was probably already out of here, But at the same time, it was just significant, in my opinion, that he pretty much passed during this week with all this wicked, and that's probably why the brother, was talking about, this pretty much was a ritual, But I didn't get a chance to check out that brother video, but nonetheless, again, a lot of the things that's going on, I listened to a part of the elders video. I believe it was called the Valley of Slaughter, because pretty much this is what this place is about to become when these resources are dry. I was listening to the elder. He was going into how Jake needs to actually start watching some of these financial channels. He was saying how Jake got low self-esteem, so Jake got to feel they need to have this and have that, which I agree with to a degree. I don't think all Jake feel like that. Like some Jake just accustomed to it, but at the same time, you gotta be thinking a little bit more through. I forgot who made the statement. They was talking about how the rich will play like they poor, and the poor will play like they rich. So you'll have the poor buying shit that they can't truly afford. My brother used to say that about my sister all day. It's funny because the elder been going in on Jake and the nigga woman, and how she had these Birkin bags and my sister was a prime. It sounded like if you was to draw a picture, or if you was to look that up in a book, her image would be right by it. Type of female she would have, real diamonds in her nails and shit. Not to digress, but it made me think about it because I watched a woman kill a man. Then, it was a man that I considered a good man. Well, a decent man. Well, I call it, ain't nothing good down here, But what I'm saying is, he did a lot of things he didn't have to do. You know, I mean, men gonna be men, and once you understand the scriptures, a man can't really cheat. A man can have as many women as he can afford. I saw a article. I was gonna do a video on it. It was a pastor and his wife, and pretty much they getting a lot of kickback because of the fact she said that she believed the Most High God helped her find his side chick. Well, when you go into that woman is in her right order, in her right mind. This place is so unbalanced and upside down. I'm gonna say something that really ain't everybody's business, but it's just like how Jake could sit up there and look at something that somebody else doing, but not paying attention. What they say, when you point your finger at somebody, you got 4 fingers pointing back. It's terrifying because again, the scriptures call the Most High God the deceived. Salaki. The scriptures say that the Most High God could pretty much control both the deceiver and the deceiver. You got men that's brought in the truth just to be destroyed. I don't know what my fate is, you know what I mean? But, at the end of the day, I pray that the Lord never take the spirit away from me. But not to digress, I watched that, and this is a family member. I can't say close because I don't deal with none of my family. I deal with a sister, I agree with Jake, these people that don't want to give up the world, they're going to die with it, But nonetheless, the Lord is about to spiritually send fire on these tribes because once he start taking away these goodies, I was thinking about the elder when he was breaking down Revelations 12, when he was talking about the woman being fed by the dragon for a time and times and times, for a time and time and times, roughly, I might be quoting them wrong, but the point being that scripture, like basically these devils have taken care of us, for that time. And now we come to the time where you're going to have to pretty much rely solely on, believers. And that's ultimately Yahweh Shem Shot, period. Fellow believer, that's the spirit working with them individuals. And you know what's so spiritual called Loyam La Yahweh Shem Shot? I saw another brother, just recently. So it's spiritual how the Lord did it, where he had certain individuals looking at me like the devil, and then you got certain brothers that still embrace me like my brother. So call Loyam La Yahweh Shem Shot for that, because it's like a balance now, But anyhow, and that goes into also being how we, again, brothers be zealous, having zeal for the truth, We all need to keep that zeal when this persecution comes. But, that's enough of my rant. Because I came across this article and it caught my attention because I'm like, that, I've been missing a few videos lately, Jake catching his hell. Because even with the Lord doing good to you, you can still be spiritually like in a low place. How did that just even happen? So lucky. That's why Jake, I noticed as of lately been doing videos talking about the spiritual battles and, if you in a low place, the Lord got you in a low spot. I know a brother titled a video. He said, just, endure it. Another brother did a video. He said, just hit record. You know what I mean? Do something for the Lord. But this caught my attention. It says politics. 60,000 Americans to lose rental assistance and risk eviction unless Congress acts. Which more than likely Congress ain't gonna act. Now, they trying to do this in a way where it works out the way they want. So you got to remember they trying to play chess, but it's ultimately not their will; it's the will of Yahweh Shem Shah. Yeah, and it kind of took me a minute to realize that. You know what I mean? Like the elder said, this, like something gonna happen, like with the whole China thing, with this whole tariff thing. Yeah, something gonna happen where it looked like it's straightened out. But it's not going to be straightened out because these things are affecting us now. Like once these things put in place, they're going to affect, how many businesses talking about they're not going to ship to America, and you know what I mean? Like this shit really, it's really going to be funny. It's a spirit why, it's a brother that put me onto my mechanic, and my mechanic, you listening but not really listening. That's why I don't really work on cars no more. I've done my working on cars. I can't say I've done it, but what I'm gonna say is, of course I know how to change a tire and check my oil and certain shit like that. But what I'm saying is, as far as like labor intensive trying to change an engine, I'm not doing that shit. You know what I mean? To the brother that can do that, call Loyam like Yahweh Shem Shah, leave that to younger backs. But I'm gonna say this: Jake was kept on telling me about, these car prices, these car parts. And I'm listening, but not really paying attention. It wasn't until I went to go get these parts for this car, because I'm like, I already know that shit about to be higher in like 3-4 months from now, so let me get this shit out the way now. I went there and they had less shit in stock than they did. So I had to wait for them to order. Now, luckily, they basically just sent it to the store. But just imagine when you start going on these shelves and they ain't got the parts, because the elder keeps saying that. Think about it. A lot of the parts is made in China. That's what my mechanic was just telling me. You know what I mean? So they about to bust your ass over the head for these parts that you gonna need. So in my personal opinion, I think it's all set up, through the spirit ultimately, and of course, but I think it's, because you gotta remember, like during that CV shit, they was talking about we all in this together. And who? These world leaders, these world powers, I was watching that movie Sinners, and it was showing you how those, I don't want to ruin the movie for nobody, but I'm gonna say this much. Just like this beast system is gonna be a hive mind system. That's why I got out of there. It was spiritual, because it was like other vampire movies. I've never seen them do it like that. It wasn't the best. Because I don't think Michael B. Jordan is like the best actor. He ain't a bad actor, but he ain't the fuck is his name? Damn, I can't even think of this man's name. Morgan Freeman, you know what I'm saying? So anyhow, but he played that role pretty good. Anyhow, it says, moments after Daenerys Espinal walked into her new apartment in Brooklyn, she prayed, and ensuing nights she would awaken and test the walls for reassurance, finding in them a relief that turned to tears over her morning coffee. So, it is spiritual, because the scriptures talk about, I'm going to get this real quick. Isaiah chapter 32. I just brought this out earlier today too. And verse 9. Rise up, ye women that are at ease. Hear my voice, ye careless daughters. Give ear unto my speech. Now this applies really to Israel, but this could also apply to these women, because these women are at ease in Babylon because it's set up to be comfortable for them. I forgot who I was listening to. They was going into like how ancient Rome was set up for women. That's why Babylon is set up for women, for the comfortability of women. That's why, they got 1 million women's shoe stores. They don't have 1 million things for men, but they got 1 million stores for women. From, expensive, super expensive shit to $5 and $10 shit. Because they know that the woman is the biggest consumer. So she's a slave, but she's a slave with more privileges. Verse 10, many days and years shall you be troubled, ye careless women, for the vintage shall fail, the gathering shall not come. Which we're seeing the vintage fail, which is Babylon the Great. This system, this economy. Wait till, again, like I say, when you see this for what it is, literally you see it for what it is, like this is not going to work out right. And it's set up to pretty much break the people. You already had people, like I said, again, I work around a lot of motherfucking Edomites. And, you know how you be like, well, just because you looking at the appearance, you try to read the spirit, so you like, well, they might be a Jake. No, these is Edomites. I'm going to tell you something to show you how funny it is. The job that I just got, they wouldn't have, you could tell this is one of them jobs that they wasn't letting niggas in. But everything's so desperate because it's a field where these niggas, like these Edomite, these young Edomite, like maybe this paved the way for a person's family to, for a perfect example, was a guy that worked there, his son, he got his son a job there, but his son about to leave. So even though they paying decently, he like, this ain't enough for me to live. He was like, if my girl, like pretty much without my girl, I'd be fucked up, because you living in a day and age where people can make money off of YouTube and all kind of other shit. A lot of these Edomites, they're not seeking to go in the paths of their forefathers. So you can fuck around and get a job in construction or in this field, because it's a field where people don't want to work in it no more. So they gonna be short on laborers for certain shit. Like my type of job right now, I can see they ain't gonna be able to get no fucking robot to do it. They would rather probably pay people to do this shit because it'll be cheaper. And I ain't gonna go into too much detail. So again, with the price of everything, like I was just working at another job and pretty much they let me go. It could have been because I, got caught doing something, but it also could have been because they tried to make it sound as if, the cost of, the tariffs. So they was shipping, they was already, being cheap and shit, but they was shipping, like they would ship certain thing that we needed to complete our task. They were shipping like 2 at a time. They started shipping 5 at a time in order to save money because of the tariffs. That going with food, that's going with everything. Because you got to think about it. A lot of stuff come from outside of Babylon the Great. Many days and years shall you be troubled, ye careless women, for the vintage shall fail, the gathering shall not come. Tremble, ye women that are at ease, be troubled, ye careless ones, strip you and make you bare and gird sackcloth upon your loins. So the Lord is about to strip these especially these proud ass women now when they take away 60,000 people. Don't seem like a lot, and I believe it's gonna be more. I believe it personally it's gonna be more. Because again, they cut too many different things. And a lot of that funding, you got judges talking about they opposing this and opposing that and what he doing, but then you got a lot of judges siding with it too. So, again, ain't no slowing this train down. You ever heard of or know about the character Juggernaut from Marvel? He's an unstoppable force. Once he's moving, you can't stop him. That's what the Lord about to do with these prophecies. So like the elder said, like you can't, I don't give a fuck. You talking about, you making it sound good. Oh yeah, I want to stop this and American made. But like he said, it take years and decades to do that because y'all signed NAFTA. I was in, I think, middle school when they did NAFTA. And it didn't look like that had a big effect because of the way they did it. But now, years later, as I'm an adult, you can see the effect that had. They shall lament for the teats, for the pleasant fields, for the fruitful vines, or fruitful vine. So ultimately, when you go into that word lament, lamentation, they're going to wail. Scriptures talk about and gnashing of teeth. Which when you go into that, that's pretty much the people in mourning. Like I mentioned this earlier. Have you ever seen a woman lose a child? That shit. Like sound like it's an unexplainable wail, like a unexplainable sound. Sound like somebody, like a monster or a demon or something. I mean, I have. It's the book of So, and that's going to affect most of the individuals, even man as well, that's gotten comfortable here. You got individuals that got comfortable here because, you got programs like Section 8 and their lotteries and whatnot. I met this chick that pretty much, she was on Section 8. And the crazy part about it was she, a little young chick too, she basically, was like pretty much because she from a whole nother city and she was like she was gonna go back home with her mama, but just so happened she won that lottery. And it show you how she's a goofy bitch. Like literally I asked her a question and she was like I'm like pretty much I'm like, how you like it? Because she kept on talking about how she was trying to find a job, couldn't find no job for like I think she said like it's been like 8 months or some shit like this. So I'm like, how you paying your bills? And you already know what she doing. Because they all like that natural. I mean, I ain't gonna say all, but a huge portion of the women here are harlots. They showing you that with that OnlyFans shit. And they don't just go to the nigga woman or, you know what I mean? That showed you a lot of the Babylonian women are motherfucking harlots. But anyhow, she just got that shit. And she thinking, you know what I mean? You show you how much she's still at ease. She up there, she not even considering that she can lose that shit. It's the book of Zephaniah chapter 1 and verse 10, and it reads, Salakia, Zephaniah chapter 1 and verse 12. And it shall come to pass at that time that I will search Jerusalem with candles and punish the men that are settled on their leads, that say in their heart, the Lord will not do good, neither will he do evil. Therefore their good shall become a booty, and their houses a desolation. They shall also build houses, but not inhabit them, and they shall plant vineyards, but not drink the wine thereof. Because you got people invested in this place as opposed to investing spiritually. The scriptures talk about lay up thy treasures in heaven. You know, say don't lay them up on earth where moth and rust can corrupt them, but lay them up in heaven where, you know, moth and rust do not corrupt. You know, James chapter 5 talk about your riches are corrupted. They moth eaten, you know what I'm saying? And that's why you seeing this money system fail, you know what I mean? And it's showing you how it's like a fraudulent, not inflated, but manipulated system, you know what I mean? Take time to think about how the markets didn't crash when we had everything on the lockdown, you know, back in 2020. How is silver you know, being pretty much maintained at its lowest price possible? Because they manipulate the markets. I think I took an image of what the word leads mean, but it's basically going into being complacent. You know, and you got a lot of individuals complacent with this place. Maybe that's why Jake ain't putting in the work like they supposed to, you know. I'm be honest, I ain't been able to go out on the highways and hedges for like the last, I think 2 weeks, but I was planning on going, you know, now, you know, this week. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, at the end of the day, that's between me and Yahweh Shem Shot. How you gonna speak on me? You ain't even doing your videos. That's why I said that's crazy to me. I ain't even mad though. Like, I'm not, that's why I ain't say nothing smart or nothing. You know what I mean? I'm just like, where the fuck that come from? Last time I checked, you didn't get, how was it said? That's between me and the Lord. So let that be between me and the Lord. Like, what the fuck? Okay. Anyhow, I ain't mean to do that, but it's just, I'm thinking like, Jake crazy. This book of Jeremiah chapter 2. Because pretty much this place had made Jake, you know, a degenerate, you know. That's why the elders say that most Jakes is pretty much heathen. They've been Hellenized or heathenized, or, you know what I mean? Because, you know, most Jake ain't trying to come back to, you know, their heritage. They'd rather be a Babylonian. Because it ain't fun to be an Israelite. Because you can't do what you want and do as thou wilt, you know. You can't really be as disciplined as you gotta be in this thing. Jeremiah chapter 2 and verse 21. Yet I have planted thee a noble vine. We supposed to be a noble plant, a noble, you know, seed of people, a holy people. You know, that's why we supposed to be separated from the rest of the, you know, our ways are supposed to be separate from the rest of the ways of the world, because the world is corrupted right now. And that's why when our ways are actually enforced throughout the world will be prosperous. And this place is so, like I said, you know, so such a like defiled place. You know, these people are degenerates. This is the book of Jeremiah chapter 2 and verse 21. Yet I had planted thee a noble vine, wholly a right seed. How then art thou turned into the degenerate plant of a strange vine unto me? You know, and that goes into that, you know, account when Yahweh Shah, our big brother, our Lord and Savior, who people equally call Jesus Christ, pretty much cursed that fig tree. Because that represents 2/3 of the nation of Israel because pretty much, you know, they're not going to prosper. They're not going to bring forth any fruit. They're a dead, withered plant. And that's why they're going to ultimately have to be destroyed. But the beautiful thing about it is, you know, and how merciful and generous the Most High Yahweh Bashem Yahushua is, although they might have not got it right on this side, you know, even those that literally like fell out the truth and all that, you know, like Jake that fucked up, the Shake that went back in the world. Yeah, you gonna feel that fire on this side, or however the Lord got it ordained for you to be, you know, judged, you know, to be deleted, but at the same time, you gonna still ultimately receive the kingdom. And that's ultimately mercy, man. That's beautiful. Like I said again, you know. So, like I was listening to the elder, he said something. He said they scared, and you could see that. Like I said, Donald Trump talking about a golden dome, nigga. You know how futile that is. if the iron dome didn't work right, how the fuck a golden dome gonna work? You ain't even got the time to build no golden dome shit. And then what they plan on doing. Yeah, anyhow, Salakia. So it says, moments after Daenerys Espina walked into her new apartment in Brooklyn, she prayed, and ensuing nights, she would awaken and touch the walls for reassurance, finding them in a relief that turned to tears over her morning coffee. Those worlds were possible through a federal program that pays rent for some 60,000 families and individuals fleeing homelessness or domestic violence. Espina was fleeing both. That's the spirit. Guess why? Because the Lord used a program like that to basically deliver me up out of homelessness. Now, I just spoke on this earlier in this video. I said, show you how cold the Lord is. You know, I think my demon back homeless for real. Showing you how, like, the Lord probably just gonna kill that bitch, because the simple fact is this, because you don't want to listen, being hard-headed, stiff-necked, rebellious, want to shrug the shoulder. And like I said again, I ain't got no matter who the fuck the 2/3 is. The one righteous thing that gorilla nigga said is, they said, if your mother's an Edomite, she going to slavery? He said, hell yeah. So my point being, you know, if you a 2/3, no matter who you is, you know, you got Jake that's gonna lose family, parents and shit. You know, what are you talking about? Fuck, I'm gonna cry and go crazy over fucking David that I know don't give a fuck about me. The fuck? You know, you forgive, and I have. What Batman say in that movie? He said, I'm not gonna kill you, but I ain't gonna save your ass either. Anyhow, but I was just saying how, because I seen her in a place where we was, like, where it had a lot of resources for the homeless. That's how we survived. And I seen her, and I just so happened to go that way before I started this job. It was like a day I had a free day to, like, because I'm always working on dealing with my kids. So just so happened to see her. It was so spiritual. I seen her. It was just a lot of little shit going on. But that day I actually went back through the area, where I was at when I was homeless. And a lot of them programs, they shutting off. So this is just all spiritual. Because they want you fucked up. So just imagine how terrifying it's going to be. Because I was seeing when a lot of people was losing and becoming homeless, you had a lot of Edomites becoming homeless, and you know Esau loved his gun. So you thought those homeless people probably had all kind of weapons and shit. But the program, emergency housing vouchers, is running out of money and quickly. Funding is expected to be used up by the end of next year. So you got a little bit of time. According to a letter from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development and obtained by the Associated Press, that would leave tens of thousands across the country scrambling to pay their rent. And the rent going to be ridiculous. So this, the Lord code for that. So even if it's next year, think about it. Didn't he just cut funds to HUD? So like a lot of those first-time home buyer programs, that shit dead. You know, it's funny because I always would make mention of John Williams. John Williams ended up moving to Cleveland. Now he buy and sell houses here. Because what people don't understand is Cleveland is a small city, but we have everything that major cities have. So a lot of people with money will come here and invest, or, you know, like Like how a lot of people ran from Chicago and went to Texas, or people ran from New York and went to Texas. Because there's certain states where, it's not as expensive as places like Florida, California, and New York, and, Chicago. So no matter what they do, they fucked. This is the book of Ezekiel on 2nd Ezra chapter 8 and verse 50. So you may, the Lord might show a little mercy right now because, doors of mercy may still be open. But again, wait till you really start seeing these cuts affect everything. This is the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 8 and verse 50. For many great miseries shall be done to them that in the latter time shall dwell in the world, because they have walked in great pride. So prepare to see a lot of people start suffering. My neighbor, this older lady got Section 8. Now, she got a big family, so, she might not be fucked up. But at the same time, like, that lady don't want to stay with her family. The fuck? you can tell. That's why she don't even want to move. And I'm up here like you got a demon on you or something. Like, these motherfuckers don't want to fix nothing. They want you to pay your rent on time but don't want to fix nothing. I'm running up out this bitch. I'm just trying to maneuver in the proper way, because who's to say how they going to do the income tax? From what I hear, then certain things about to affect me getting a certain amount of income tax. Yeah, man. Because, those credits for, earned income and all that only apply when you make a low amount. Because, again, the Lord put the spirit on me. I realized that whole earned income shit is for the poor so they can stimulate the economy. Like when you had stimulus checks. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's why, like the elder said, a nigga get his tax refund and that shit gone already because they done went and bought TVs and went and bought all this. You know what's funny? My kids just broke the damn TV. And I'm so salty about the shit because I'm like, man, I should make y'all really not have no fucking TV. But, that's going to drive me crazy. I was just like, how the fuck y'all do that? Like, because you ain't about to find a TV like that. And then the elder just talking about the TV's going to be, all that shit going to be going up. So if you're going to get something, well, the thing is this, though. If you got some money, people are going to be so fucked up, you might come up on a deal. Like, you might get some, you see people desperate. That's when, like, right now, I went to a coin shop, and a lot of coin shops don't have a lot of silver. Like, a lot of the big silver, they constantly getting it. But yet and still, like, I called 2 different ones, and he like, I ain't got none. I'm like, damn. They got little rounds and shit. Because people, it's constantly being bought and sold right now because, I remember one day when I went into this one spot when I was selling my silver, I'm talking about like, it was like more people. You don't see that many people in gold and silver shops like that. You might see a couple people. I'm talking about this place was packed this particular day. I'm like, damn, everybody's selling something. So yeah, prepare. Get your mind right. And like the elder say, your house in order. And with that, if you're so-called Black, Hispanic, Native American, Seminole Indian, West Indian, or Haitian, I implore you to come back to the law, statutes, and commandments of your power, whose true name in the Paleo Hebrew is Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua. You will be destroyed. With that, I want to give all praise, all honor, and all glory to call Allah, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua Ba'Shem Racha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and to the apostles and tell me this truth. Peace and salutations to the Akim across the 4 corners of the earth, pushing this truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives and their freedom to do so, now more so than ever. Shalom to the Akim and the Aquat out there listening and learning, Lord willingly. This is edifying. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad in the land of other nations, appearing like the other nations, and whom subscribe to this truth. To you, I say shalom. Till next time, Lord willingly. Shalom, shalom. Kwame Yasharallah. Mawatla Babal.